competition.
Let Cora keep my ground so clean.
The heart and soul of the Cayman people. Thank you for keeping the culture alive.
Let's read the news every day. From East End to Georgetown, down into West Bay.
Radio Cayman in the Cayman Islands.
Oh, I think they're doing a great job. A lot of them are.
Good afternoon, Dwayne. How are you?
Not too bad, sir.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Radio Cayman's Talk Today with Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
But I do have some questions.
There are more questions than answers.
Radio Cayman's Talk Today. If you're ready to talk, we're willing to listen.
Well, I really enjoy this program today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
May God bless every person.
Hey, welcome and thank you so much. No, just kidding. It's good afternoon. Welcome. Thank you for calling us here on Radio Cayman's Talk Today program. It's going to be a fantastic show as we start things off with our excellent friends from Jasmine. The Right Honourable Mr. Patrick Schmidt sits with me. He's right and he's honourable, right?
if you say so.
I say so. So therefore, it's Sid. Hey, he's going to help us together. We're going to invite you to solve the world's problems or create more chaos. It's all the same, depends on the perspective. So stay tuned for Talk Today.
Radio Cayman's Talk Today, the Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program. We ask our listeners to avoid statements or comments which are abusive, derogatory, malicious, or defamatory. Do not use any indecent language or make any statement which is false or misleading. Email talktoday@candw.ky or call 1-800-534-8255. Courtesy of Flow.
Cayman's #1 network that connects you to your world like never before.
Let your voice be heard. Once again, here's your host, Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Thank you. Welcome back. And truly is a pleasure always to welcome to our studio, the excellent company of Miss Felicia McLean. Thank you very much, Mom.
Thanks for having me.
It truly is. And to always, not just for you to come along, but for always bring along Miss Karen McMillan.
Hi there. Great to be here.
It is, for me, to see people like you with such an endearing spirit, such compassion, to take, on what in our lives is something that we face, and you make it with such love and such grace, and you invite us as a public to draw alongside to be able to help others. Hey, thanks very much. It means a lot.
It's an honor to help others, for sure.
Well, Mr. Patrick Schmidt, and to you, sir, not just for the company today and for your contributions in the past, but for the expectations of what together we can, do to make our society that much more positive, much more productive.
Yep.
So,
sky's the limit for sure.
Definitely.
Yes. And, it's always a pleasure to be here, and certainly in the company of yourself and the ladies from Jasmine.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm very happy to be here and participate in the program today.
I was thinking earlier with Miss Felicia, the idea that for what is, I guess, palliative care, hospice, and its introduction, its adoption, its acceptance within our community, and the way we have drawn alongside to support it financially, to volunteer, to offer up. Perhaps we are experts in a particular area. We may be good at being able to gently talk to people to help them through something. Maybe we understand how to, play a song to soothe their soul. We may offer up a sonnet or otherwise.
Mm-hmm.
We all have something that we can give. Mm-hmm. And in times like this, it's so important to give.
For sure. Being a part of anyone helping and random acts of kindness, they're all ways that we stay connected with those around us, helping each other so that we grow well and live well together as a community, for sure. No matter how big, how small, no matter what it looks like you said, whether it's money or whether it's time, it makes a difference. It's just about the interest to care enough to try to do something to be there in whatever shape or form that is. And we're blessed as a community. And we feel it for sure at Jasmine, because we would not have our beautiful facility. We would not be around here for 20 years giving the service that we did if it wasn't for the Cayman community supporting us financially and with the volunteer hours. It makes us continue to push us forward and help us to do what we're doing. So we're very blessed here in Cayman.
And the notion, I think, Patrick, that Little can mean a lot.
Of course.
You know, we grew up with that. We saw how, I say it this way and I'll be guided, how our parents, for some of us they were our great-grandparents, they could stretch things. I mean, literally, you know, it wasn't just the starch in the cassava. They could stretch things. And, you know, that little pot fed the neighborhood. You know, and that little, you know, tuppence went a long ways. In our communities, we're pooling those resources to benefit so many. And that, you know, 25 cents or 25 million that we put in, that's, you know, compounded and combined with an every contribution goes a long way, meaningful way.
Especially when you have a network of in the community that works together, like we used to more so than we do now.
Yeah.
I don't know about that. I mean, it might have morphed and changed, but I mean, that's the whole philosophy behind Caymankind.
Yes.
You know, that's what we push. That's what we tell. That's why tourists will come and say, you know, my goodness, people were so friendly. People look me in the eye. They say hello. That same general nature of wanting to treat the other person with respect is still woven within our community. And I think it still shines. Obviously, we can always do it better, but I think you see it when you see the support. I mean, we're a community with tons of nonprofits, and we're only one, and somehow they find a way to give one to me, one to the next one to the next one, so that we all get it, which means it's still there.
Yes.
Yeah. And when you mentioned the idea of Caymankind, if you don't mind me sharing, because you go places sometimes and you leave being so blessed, so treasured in a sense, right? I had a wonderful experience to go to a place that I go, like many of us, frequently, because there's a product, there's a service that we utilize, right? And to be reminded that here is an employee, and I don't say that lightly, and I don't want to bother to hear any contempt, right? Who always is smiling, who always is helpful. Now, before there was a definition or some sort of an expectation of customer service, she exuded that genuineness, that helpfulness. It epitomized, you know, this level of service. And to hear of a story of a frequent visitor, first-time visitor, engaging this person and receiving that, so much so that this new customer feels so inclined and led to say, let me physically demonstrate through this token, you know, how much I appreciate what now we've turned as Caymankind. I thought, yeah, that is why some businesses prosper. They all sell the same, you know, red or green or black or blue or purple widget. But man, over here, it's sold with kindness. Makes a difference, huh?
And it's so important. First impressions never leave anybody. First impressions, and customer service in any form of profession, occupation, retail, hotel, corporate, whatever, is so very important. And you know, we're blessed at Jasmine Villa. We have a great bunch of reception volunteers that, you know, we have a person that walks in, they need to see a friendly face first and foremost, right? And it immediately puts them at ease. And you know, it's so important.
And you wouldn't necessarily sometimes think of customer service when you think of that. It's in fact what it is, but then we may call it something else. But you know, at this stage where for some of us we could be totally lost, we could be very, let's say, agitated or angry, upset, or whatever it is. I would imagine that's understandable to some extent, and yet, you know, to have someone draw alongside, and I use the word love, you know, that agape love, it means a lot. You know, we don't know it until we experience it.
That is true. That is true. But yeah, it having that extra bit of love, that person that's attention to detail in that time of life where things are rough, whether it be earlier on in the disease process and you're just trying to process what's going on and how you're going to manage, or whether it be during the disease process and you're just not managing well, or whether you're at the end. We all want that smiling face. We all want that Caymankindness throughout that process, so that it makes it that much more easier. And then it also means you're not alone. No one wants to be alone. And that's what Jasmine does. It partners with the patient and the family so that no one has to be alone, suffer alone, or die in silence in that regards.
Can I just ask, with respect to volunteers, how do you go about screening your volunteers, and after you've actually screened them and decided, okay, these are the persons who are going to be our volunteers, how do you prepare them for what they're to deal with?
Okay, We have two categories of volunteers. One is our clinical volunteer who will work alongside the nurses, going to the home, visit the patient and set up their own relationship with that family. And the other category is just regular Jasmine volunteers. They can help out at our villa with fundraising events, with administration, with driving. This week we had a young lad who very graciously did some driving for us and deliveries, which was huge for us because we are a very small team. We really are. We're an admin team of 3, and of that 3, Felicia is also head of nursing. So we are very tight in admin. And we have volunteer application forms, and we do training 4 times a year. It's not a pass or fail situation at all. It's just come along, learn about who we are, what we do, how you can help out, and then we take it from there. We never turn volunteers away.
Right.
It's just another way I think this community not only gives, but should be mindful of the opportunities to give. We can get involved with so much in so many ways, not just because of the particular skill sets we may have, but just because we have 2 hands and a willing heart.
Yeah.
And it's good that we can write a check and donate a lot of money. Hey, thank you. But sometimes, you know what, come and help me to
drive the car.
Yeah,
that's stop and starts in the middle of traffic, for sure. They could take that off my hand.
hey, listen, I'm with you, man. And that person driving allows somebody else, even if it's the passenger, to do, for want of a better word, admin, to do something else. Respond to the email, make the phone call, craft that letter, that whatever that is, because you're constantly, I can only imagine your jobs are not just 24/7, 365. I think you guys have like 48 hours in a day.
Has been this week.
A special calendar.
Yeah. Actually, I won't talk out of school, but I've seen, Miss Felicia in particular. And I thought, wait a minute. Oh, she said, she found out how to teleport. She was here and then she was there. But you guys are...
Please share that.
Don't. Because then we'll start using it. Next thing you know, there'll be no excuse. I can't be in 2 places at once. But... all seriousness, you do a good job. When we come back from the break, though, I know you have is it the annual Flag Day?
It
is.
How
it comes up?
Flag Day, yay.
Yeah.
And I can't believe that it's been 2 decades.
Yes, 20 years. We're so excited.
That sounds so long.
Yeah.
I remember when I was 20.
I know, especially because it turns out I'm only 22.
Hey, I'm forever 27. That was just a good year. I'm just kidding. But let's talk about that and how we can maybe help out where it's going to be. And I understand there's some interesting new developments this year. See that, boy? If I listen to Miss Susan, I'm going to actually get things right. All right. She's like, boy, stop behaving. All right. We're having we're having a wonderful conversation. I'm encouraged by the love, the support that the community has shown, and hopefully as we get more and more, we'll be able to partner. Equally looking forward to, later on, Patrick, have a chat.
Yes.
I can't promise I'll behave.
Yeah.
But, yeah. It's a Thursday. Anything is possible. All right. Join us after the break. Stay tuned for Talk Today.
Start getting your debt under control with a debt consolidation loan from Fidelity Bank. At Fidelity, your loan decision is quick with no runaround. Plus, with competitive interest rates and fees, we will help you reduce your monthly payments and get you back to living again. Don't let the burden of overwhelming debt tie you down this year. Call Fidelity today and let's make it happen with a Fidelity Bank debt consolidation loan. Fidelity, we're good for you.
CUC advises participants in the Green Iguana Culling Program to exercise extreme caution around the CUC's poles and power lines, especially when extracting iguanas from trees or branches that are in close proximity to poles and power lines. Participants should keep all objects such as poles, sticks, or hooks away from any CUC equipment to avoid any electrical contact. For further information, please contact our customer service team at 949-5200 or via email at service@cuc.ky.
ValueMed Pharmacy is your community care partner for health and wellness needs. We offer convenient prescription processing at the counter and online at value-medpharmacy.com. That's VALU-medpharmacy.com, with pickup available at the Walkers Road or Boddentown location. We also accept transfer prescriptions from other pharmacies. More than just a pharmacy, shop ValueMed for personal care and beauty products from trusted brands, perfume and gift sets, Hallmark and greeting cards, baby clothes, footwear, handbags, swimwear, home decor, toys, school supplies, and stationery. And home convalescence aids like wheelchairs, walkers, crutches, canes, and hospital beds. With 2 locations to serve you, Walkers Road in Georgetown and in Evron Plaza, Boddentown. Visit ValueMed, more than just a pharmacy.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waging to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back to Talk Today. Thank you for joining us. Of course, we always invite you to call and share your thoughts, your opinions, in a comment, in a query, in a question. Sometimes we even can offer up an opinion, but we leave that for those who know better. I'm always grateful for the excellent company of Mr. Patrick Schmidt. Thank you again.
Pleasure to be here, sir.
And we're going to have some fun later on, even more fun. I mean, you think yesterday was fun, you check tomorrow. But from Jasmine, Miss Felicia McLean, and Miss Kara Macmillan, it is a subject that can evoke in many some, sort of unsolicited emotions, as it were, unconsolable and is it inconsolable and uncontrollable emotions. But you have a team that loving, that's nurturing, that guides, that helps, and it's not just then; it's before and it's after. But as a community, as you share, Miss Felicia, we can help out because it takes money.
It does.
Unfortunately, I don't want people to be greedy and not respectful. There's more to life than money, but you know what? You don't pay your utility bill at the end of the month. Tell me how far you gotta go the next month before you're in darkness.
Yeah.
So money.
Yeah, but I think it goes even more deep than that. I remember one client, and her grandmother was ill, and she was the next of kin for her grandmother. She was probably about 21, 22. And I was sitting with her in the ICU and talking about the potential of Jasmine getting involved in helping with her grandmother when she goes home and that kind of stuff. And she looked at me and she goes, okay, that's great. How much does it cost? And I was just like floored. Like, this was just a couple years ago. It wasn't that long ago. And I'm like, because I think everyone knows that Jasmine is free of charge. Because we've been around for long and we're always asking for money. So I assume that the majority know, but so many people don't. Or maybe the stress of the disease process and the fact that they're cashing out money to the doctor, for the pharmacy, for this, for that. It's like, it's just taking up all this money. So this must be more money if I need to get more care. And when I could sit to it and say, it doesn't cost a dime, that 21-year-old started to cry. Yeah. That's the difference that your $1, your $2, your $10 makes. It takes the burden off of whatever that family member is or the patient from having to figure out, am I going to be able to give my loved one what they need, what they want, the comfort, the support through this process? And now you don't have to worry. For the last 20 years, they didn't have to worry. They could call Jasmine. We will come. We will see what we can do. We will help as much as we can to help them to manage that person's care, their comfort, their quality of life, so that they do make the best of every moment for as long as they can.
And that's important. And I want to ask you, because this was shared with me, and it's been resonating. Someone shared, and not just because people have professional designations after the name, or they're otherwise experienced and exceptional people and highly respected and respectable and respectful and all those things, that during these times that they also maintain that level of deportment and decorum. Doesn't mean that, right? But the fellow was saying that you're going through this, and everybody walks a path differently. And when you're thinking logically and reasonably and rationally, you're probably not, even though you probably are more so than others. And he was sharing that just having this, very loving person, competent, but objective, kind of impartial, to say, well, listen, did you consider this? Do you know about this? To have a physician say, well, okay, this particular medication is this thing. Or a nurse says, well, actually, I can bring something else, whatever that something else is. Little things like that you probably got a zillion things going a zillion miles a minute. You probably don't. I mean, I and as I listened to him, I thought to myself, wow, but your name is this. This is the job that you have, and in one little phone call, you could, maybe, I don't know, bring the world to a halt for a second. I don't know. But that kind of authority and power, that kind of knowledge and experience, and yet these little things, mean that much to you. Because
for sure. Yeah. I mean, when you're in that situation, you're trying to be the loved one, that you're trying to be the caregiver. You're playing so many different roles that even when you do have it all put together in those fancy initials after your name, you're still at a loss for that particular thing, unless that, even when we've had doctors who were caring for their loved ones, it's hard when that's their loved one. And so having someone who has, like you said, a neutral outside looking in and kind of can just lay it down and say, these are your options. These are the pros. These are the cons. You decide what you want. We don't make any decisions for our patients and families. They make it. We simply enable them with the information and the support so that they can feel like they can make the next decision based on what's best for them. And we could not do that without the support of the community. We do have to pay nurses for the qualifications that they have so that they can bring that level of service there, and the physician that, our palliative doctor, Dr. Hobday. And that's how the money enables people to get that care and that support. But it makes a big, big difference to just have someone on the outside. I call it the nurse in the family, because everyone knows, they've got a doctor or a nurse in the family, and the minute something happens, you call them and go, okay, this is what the doctor said. Is that right? Is that wrong? What should I do? That's what Jasmine becomes for our families. We become that nurse or that doctor in the support system with extra knowledge to talk through a whole disease process, what's coming ahead. We see things 10 times before someone else will see it. We're not just looking at the here and now. We're looking at the whole family, what's coming, where they're at, how do we get them where they need to be so that they can feel like they understand. Because most times people aren't actually afraid of dying. They're afraid of the process because they don't know what's going to come. They don't understand. So when you can help someone to understand what to expect, it becomes a little less scary. You know what I mean? It's like putting that nightlight on in a dark room. I can see a little bit, so it's a little less scary. And that's what we do for our patients and our family. We make it a little less scary. We don't take away the hurt. I can't solve them. I can't make them better. But we can make it less scary.
And something too that this was a while back, as you said, just reminded, he was sharing with me. We all draw alongside our friends or co-workers, and we try to help. Sometimes, we're a little too helpful in trying to offer up opinions and stuff. But after some point in time, a month, a year, whatever, we're no longer there. But he said, you check up for that extended period of time. And it's just a good customer. Well, I don't want to say that because that might sound insensitive, but good customer service, a good after sales service.
It's not even customer service. It's community. It's a family. We become a part of the family in that regards. And when you love someone, you're going to check on them and you're going to care for them. And all of our patients and their family members are like family to us. We want the best for them. We've gotten to know them through the journey, and we want to see that they continue to thrive in the community so they can then pay it forward for the next person they can share. If they're shut in and they're not coping well, if they can't manage work, if they don't know how to manage, well, then they don't remain that vibrant part of the community to continue to pay it forward for the next person who may be walking in their shoes and need that bit of support. So we do care for our families for 1 year afterwards. So and it's 1 year minimum. If they're really struggling, we can keep them on longer, and we will continue to support them with all of our services, not just the nurses support, but our holistic services like the yoga therapy that we're looking at starting, the lunch clubs that they can come out to. All of those things help give them some more support systems available so they can get through those hard times, because otherwise, after the funeral, everyone's gone. You might get the odd call at 1 or 2, but for the most part, everyone's gone back to life. They've gone to carry back on, and you just got to figure it out on your own. And when they're with our services, no matter how long they were with us, we will follow them and check on them.
Certainly, it's one can easily understand how much relief must fall upon any person when they first hear about the services of Jasmine being made available to them and their family and their loved one in need. Because obviously, for most people, up until that point, they're probably having to consider, what do I have to sacrifice in order to provide this for my loved one? And to be relieved of that, not to say that they don't care anymore, but just to be relieved of that one major stressor, substantially relieved, that is to say, it must be a tremendous emotional experience.
So with Flag Day, and I'm mindful that, what is it, tomorrow?
It's tomorrow and Saturday, Friday and Saturday. Woohoo!
I mean, yeah, they say Flag Day. I just kidding. No. For those who don't know, may I ask you to tell us a little bit about it?
Yeah.
Tell us, well, Ms. Carey.
Yeah, absolutely. It's an initiative that happens in the UK. It started in the UK many, many years ago. They actually used to physically give out flags in the UK. I think we probably did when we first started ours 20 years ago, but certainly since I can remember, we haven't actually physically given out flags, but we do. It's basically a coin drive, a street collection drive, and we have pretty close to 300 volunteers over the 2 days, strategically placed around the island at all the banks, the supermarkets, usually in pairs just for company, and collecting funds and spreading public awareness about who we are and what we do. It's the only time in the year that we're on the street, and it's massively important to us. Our volunteers are in their blue t-shirts. They're very easily recognised. We have permission from vendors. We don't just turn up. We start this process 6 months ahead of time, and it's great. We work from 8 till 8 both days. It's long. It's a big process, but we have no problem getting volunteers. I mean, at this point of time, we probably need 6 or 8 more to fill in the odd slot on Friday.
So that is if you're free on Friday. Yeah. We would like a couple more people who can give us 2 hours of their day and fill a slot so that we can have people everywhere across Cayman raising funds for the much needed support of Jasmine patients.
And the big thing this year as well is it's our 20th year of Flag Day. So we have a lot of the companies who work with us a lot over the years are doing a dress down day for us. They're in bright yellow t-shirts and with wording "Thank you Cayman for 20 years of support." HSA have come on board, the government have come on board, the Cayman BRAC's come on board big time this year, and we've been in the schools in the BRAC for the last 3 or 4 years. But this year they are placing volunteers at the banks there, the two on the Cayman National
CNB
Bank
and
the supermarket over there, and we have one of our volunteers here who goes to the BRAC a lot as coordinating our volunteers over there for us. So it's all like a network. It all gels in, and it's fantastic, And Butterfield are our sponsors really for this event, and they do the coin count for us. We just collect it all, take it down to them, and in their spare time they volunteer their time to sort it all out for us. And I mean, there's no way we could do that. It's just too big, right? And we don't have the machinery and the gadgets and the counting whatever's to do that, So, and we really appreciate them doing that,
Everybody can play a role.
Yeah, absolutely. It doesn't have to be a big dollar role either. It's in kind. It's time, and time is precious. And in this day and age, everyone is busy. I mean, like Felicia's got a young family, like mine are grown and gone, so I have a little bit more flexibility on that side of things, But we're juggling hats, especially as moms. Or I'm not saying your dads are great as well, but moms juggle hats all the time, right?
We're not saying anything.
I mean, multitasking and everything, and we recognise that our volunteers are. That's where they are at the moment as well, So the time that they can give us, we really do appreciate it, And sadly, we can't appreciate them financially, but it's their giving back to us, and hopefully a very rewarding part of their life as well, knowing that they are doing something to help the community.
Well, I'm very mindful of, as you said, Ms. Felicia, our community has responded to all of the the pressing needs, the different charities, and we find a way to share, as our good friend Ms. Conley talks about, our time, our talent, and our treasure. And it's commendable for such a community to continue to do that. Tomorrow, hopefully, as we're out and about, Saturday equally, whatever it is that you feel led to give, knowing that it's pooled and it makes a collective positive impact on the rest of us.
Yeah. I mean, if you have 25 cents, that's great. If you have $2, that's great. Our motto for this initiative is every cent counts, and it absolutely does, because it all goes for the same cause.
Yeah, man.
And so, can I just ask some of the locations, perhaps, that people might consider?
We're at all of the banks, so CNB in all their locations. So CNB, Savannah, and Georgetown, Butterfield Bank, CIBC, Royal Bank,
Scotia
Bank, and then we're at the supermarkets, all of them The only location we didn't go is all the way in East End Fosters, but we were as far as Savannah Fosters.
What do you mean all the way in East End?
All the way in East End. Listen, that's a
she
trek.
can sit down. That's okay. I think she has
I'm not taking
connections.
that trek. If I take that trek out there, I'm gonna stay there for
She's not coming
staycation. I'm not
back.
coming back. But yeah, so we're
And West Bay.
and then West Bay all the way to Republics and West
See,
Bay.
all the way.
All the way. I'm central.
And what is your goal in terms of the financial goal, or is there not a goal particular?
We normally average about 60 to 70,000, and so in 2 days, which is an amazing, yet again, well done to Cayman for the last 20 years. They keep raising the bar, so if we can stay in that ballpark figure or go higher, we will be blessed, as we said earlier. So so we love the pennies, but we love the 25s and the 50s too. Whatever you feel led to give, it will be a blessing. And think about the fact that it's not, going to us directly. Sickness doesn't care how old you are. So we've taken care of babies a couple of days old with congenital issues that we're not going to live. And we've taken care of patients as far as 103 years old. So it doesn't matter what age it is or where you are, your walks of life. We will help you if we can. And that's where the funds are going. So when they're giving to ensure that someone else in need can get the support that they need. That's what you're giving to. When you see them outside with the blue shirts and the green tins, think there's a person out there that this money will bless. It will pay it forward. It will say, we've got you. We as Cayman community, we got you, and we're going to give and make sure that you get what you need. So, don't pass them by, smile, be friendly. If you can't, that's fine too. Some people don't have it, and they might say, we don't, just say, thank you, but I can't today. And we're grateful just the same, just for acknowledging. They're volunteers out there. Yeah. And there's nothing worse than being like, excuse me, would you like to donate? And they walk by and don't say anything. I would rather them say, I can't today. Thank you anyway for your time, because they're volunteering their time. They're people too. And they're doing something to donate to a better cause. And so whether you can give or you can't, be respectful. And our volunteers try to be respectful with everyone as well.
I share with you. You just said something that reminded me. And if the person listening say, why you said that, then I'll have to make up for it. So this is a parent who has very, very, my perspective, a very motivated and involved child. Very not just conscientious and conscious, but very considerate of the community, right? So a number of years ago, I think, if I remember correctly, the conversation, the mother was going to be volunteering. And so the following year, the little child, a little bit older, dragged the mother to multiple locations to get the little
stickers.
And when, end of the day, X little spots, I guess little badges across the shirt for the child, right? Mm-hmm. I thought, it didn't matter if they gave $1. I don't know the sum. It wasn't, but to be able to go and for the child to have done that, and I thought, it's pretty neat because you're collecting badges of honor, right? Yeah. And I thought that means a lot because you're actively engaged.
For sure.
And we also like our families to bring out their children as well to volunteer as a family.
My daughter's begging me. She's like, Mommy, do you have a slot this year? What time can we go? She absolutely loves it. She loves giving people stickers. She loves standing there and raising money. There's community pride that comes in there. It's not just about getting the continuation, the hours that you need as for community service, but it's also a bit of pride that we teach our kids when we bring them out and say, you're going to donate your time to get us X, to give towards someone else in need. It's not always about what we're going to get for ourselves, but what we can do for someone else.
Yeah, do we have time for another question or no?
Yeah, man, go right ahead, man.
My question is this. It's not directly related to the fundraising issue, but rather the palliative care in its totality. And that is to say that a lot of people, I think, are interested in the medical professions generally. But specifically, I think a lot of people also feel, and I've heard it expressed, that palliative care must be a particularly emotionally draining experience. And I just wondered if you could perhaps shed some light for the benefit of those who might be considering such a profession on your experience, in preparation for
You know what?
profession.
I was the exact same. When I went through my nursing school and I went and visited the hospice, I was like, oh my goodness, I would cry every day. I was no way I want anything to do with hospice and palliative care. But it is so rewarding, the action of being able to help someone and give something back to people, that you actually end up going home feeling, like you did something good. And that feeling of doing something good helps you to live better, to feel better, to carry on. So instead of really being, you're sad that someone's died or someone's not doing well, but knowing that you were there to help them is empowering, and so, you know, it just, I can't even explain it. It's a warmth in your heart that you want to do it again, because you don't want anyone to not have had that.
Right.
The idea that family members, sometimes they don't call, and you know what their process might seem like, or whether their death might look like, it's just like, oh my goodness, everyone should have access to great palliative care, and someone's got to do it, and it makes you feel so good to help someone. You want to do it again and again and again. But you do have to take care of yourself. You do need to recognize that, you know, life outside of that environment, care for yourself, take the breaks that you need. We have a really good teamwork within most hospices where we care for each other. We watch out for each other's burnout so that no one, you know, goes too far. We share the load with the patient, so it makes it a bit easier in that regard. But you do go home feeling very like you did something good. Like and truth be told, when it comes to stress, I see my husband come home many days more stressed out than I am, because he doesn't get to walk away feeling that satisfaction of he did something good for someone that day and he made a difference in that person's life, and they're so grateful for even me handing them a glass of water. He doesn't get that. He gets the complaints and all the stresses and the bureaucracy of the system. You don't have all of that when it's just life and death. It's just about the person caring, loving, being there. And it takes all that other stuff away that we get bogged down with, and just allows you to be human.
Wow. Beautiful, man. You know, I would share something else with that. Now, listen, I know you have, you know, in preparation for tomorrow and Saturday. Thank you very much. Our studios are as available to you as you need. And I hope that the community, Ms. Kerry, if there's a final word you want.
I'm just going to say thank you, Cayman, in advance for the next 2 days, because I know you're all going to be out there. You're going to support us like you always do. If there is anyone who has a spare couple of hours who would like to help out, mainly for tomorrow, please call on 945-7447 and we will happily place you somewhere.
We still need you guys, so don't, we want your money too, but we'd love a couple more volunteers. So just, like I said, give as much as you can, whether it's your time, whether it's your funds. We're very, very grateful for everything, and that allows us to continue to pay it forward, but it makes them a part of our journeying with us to help us journey with them. So it's all about coming together. So thank you, Cayman, for 20 years, which is amazing, of your support, and we look forward to 20 more years of their support.
Absolutely.
Thank you both, and enjoy the afternoon. May tomorrow not just be successful financially, but as you shared, bring us together collectively.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Sterling. Thank you, Patrick.
Always a pleasure.
Thank you.
And to our listeners, Mr. Patrick Schmid, he's going to continue sitting next to us. I will not endeavor to deliberately, manipulate the conversation so the narrative goes to a certain part that leads you down a path. That's
your prerogative. You can try.
The man with intellect, the man with an insight, and he is going to share with us. So stay tuned for Talk Today.
If your business is over here, but your customers are over here, adding more yellow to your business will bring you both right here. With everyone searching Yellow's print, online, and mobile app, getting your business noticed is easier than ever. Book your consultation today at findyellow.com.
Cayman Arts Festival and the Cayman Islands Public Library Service proudly present Music at the Library, featuring classical music in addition to poetry and readings from local poets and writers. 2020 performances include Glenn Inanga on piano, Antonio Alvarez on cello, and Joan Garcia on violin. Thursday, February 20th, 6 p.m. at the Public Library in Georgetown. Tickets will be available at the door, 20 CI for adults and 5 CI for students.
We are Radio Cayman, and this is how we wake you up in the morning. Praise time on Radio Cayman.
Sing your praise to the Lord. Come on, everybody, stand up and sing one more. Hallelujah, give your praise to the Lord. We are united in Jesus Christ. We are the soldiers of the Lamb.
Praise time.
Weekday mornings from 6 until 6:30.
There's a meeting up in heaven. Roll call.
Praise time.
Jesus in the morning, yeah.
Weekday mornings from 6 until 6:30.
Your song flowed through my lips. Your work moved through my hands. Your stay on my mind, live in me.
Radio Cayman, maintaining the innovation.
On a daily basis, making it easy to connect with you, our listeners. Add us to WhatsApp today, 925-3261. That's 925-3261.
Radio Cayman.
Send a text or voice note.
Can I send a request, please?
You don't really have to ask us. Just send a request.
This is a shout out to my ex.
Radio Cayman, the voice of the Cayman Islands.
Radio Cayman, maintaining the innovation.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back. Thanks for joining us. And as you just heard, the opportunity still exists for some who wish to volunteer and be a part of, Jasmine's annual Flag Day tomorrow and Saturday. Certainly come out and support, and as a community show that we are caring, that we are giving, that we are nurturing, and that we are charitable.
I need somebody to join me at Cost You Less from 6 to 8 tomorrow evening.
All right. Well, hey.
We're one short.
Okay, but we'll find one more.
All right.
Yeah, my appointment is at 5. My other engagement might not. I don't know. We'll see. 6 to 8. Patrick will be signing signatures and autographs.
I doubt that.
Yeah. No, it is open line though, and I'm grateful, honestly, for the company for many different reasons. Because I think sometimes it's not unlike you go near a body of water. We don't have lakes and we've got ponds. We don't have rivers, but sometimes it seems like the little canals could act as such. But if you ever sit by the beach and you look out to the horizon and you echo, there's nothing. You go to a mountain stream sometimes and you hear the reverberation sometimes, right? Mm-hmm. I say that because I wonder how many of us have stopped to listen to the echo of our voices. Are we speaking into a void? Are we, when we're looking in the mirror to comb our hair or put on our makeup or shave? I'm just talking to the men. Mm-hmm. Are we genuinely looking at the reflection and what that reflection, is reflecting?
Yes.
And I share that.
Are you stealing that from Michael Jackson? Man in the Mirror?
Oh, no, jeez. I hadn't thought about that. But I'm glad you mentioned that, because that's the wonderful part, again, about the arts, music in particular. We may see poetry to be a little bit more cerebral in a point. Song is much easier. The calypsonian may sing about something contemporary, or it may be an old sort of slave sonnet or the like that has been over the years put to a musical chant. Mm-hmm. But it could equally be something political that is speaking in code almost, right? And I wonder to what extent this community is mindful of its traditional music. I won't endeavor to sing it for two reasons. One, I don't want anybody to really, it's lunchtime, they're probably trying to enjoy the lunch.
Right.
But secondly, some of we call them folk songs or whatever we want to call them, some of the songs speak to things that were transpiring then about people, about places, about, whatever was happening. And if you understand the story, and if the story isn't misrepresented going forward, sometimes deliberately miscommunicated, then it could allow us to appreciate what our history is and what potential future should be.
One that's very poignant right now that I can think of is Jack Don't Want Me to Bathe on My Beach.
Oy.
I mean, some might say it's poignant anyway, but I mean, that's of course from Barbados originally.
Yeah.
So, and very, very clear message there.
Right. But could we talk about that? Because it isn't, and I'm glad you mentioned that, and I was going to sort of broach that. It isn't just the Caribbean. Mm-hmm. For those who either live, work, or somewhat connected to Florida. Now, there are other places, right? But since Florida is, for many of us, we travel, we go to school, we visit, we go to the physician, we do different things in Florida. Some of us have living between the two. They have in some areas a similar challenge with access in, beaches. And what are we doing here? And do we see that this thing that is creating, division and contempt? Is it this thing that someone said, oh, that's just a bunch of them now creating strife, as they put it? No. So when we come back from the break, let's start it off with beach accesses. Do you have a solution for the beach accesses? Well, we would like to hear. Stay tuned for Talk Today.
Today's biggest news.
Radio K-Man.
It's only 2 species that we have here on the island.
Generations present.
Your voice, your choice.
For today's biggest news. Access.
Local, regional, international. This is headlines from Radio Cayman's newsroom team.
Today's biggest news.
With your latest headlines, I'm April Cummings. The Cayman Islands completes a national assessment of terrorism financing risk. The report says when geography and demographics are taken into consideration, the risk of funds for terrorist financing purposes being collected or used in the jurisdiction was judged to be low. At the same time, given the size and prominence of the Cayman Islands financial sector, the likelihood of funds connected to terrorist purposes moving through the jurisdiction was found to be a medium risk. In international headlines, a 43-year-old German man who posted a manifesto calling for the complete extermination of many, quote, races or cultures in our midst, shot and killed 9 people of foreign background, most of them Turkish, in an attack on a hookah bar and several other sites in a Frankfurt suburb. He was later found dead at his home along with his mother, and authorities say they are treating the rampage as an act of domestic terrorism. South Korea reports its first death from the new coronavirus today as the mayor of a southeastern city urges its 2.5 million people to stay inside. This as infections linked to a church congregation spiked. The death is the 9th confirmed from the virus outside mainland China. Other deaths have occurred in France, Hong Kong, Japan, the Philippines, and Taiwan. Victoria's Secret, beset by falling sales and uncomfortable questions about a billionaire founder who has run the company for 5 decades, is being sold. The company's owner, L Brands, said the private equity firm Sycamore Brands will buy 55% of Victoria's Secret for about $525 million. The Columbus, Ohio company will keep the remaining 45% stake. After the sale, L Brands will be left with its Bath & Body Works chain. Victoria's Secret will become a private company. Those are your headlines. From Radio Cayman's newsroom, I'm April Cummings.
Stay in touch with Radio Cayman for the latest in news and information.
Follow Radio Cayman on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Download the Radio Cayman app or log on to our website, www.radiocayman.gov.ky.
Radio Cayman, your voice, your choice, your radio.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waging to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back. It is Open Line, and I'm grateful to Mr. Patrick Schmid for joining us. I have, in my mind, like me, feel it's Patrick, I hope you don't mind sharing this utter great respect and appreciation. I feel it's a privilege, a genuine pleasure, but equal an honor for you to sit and share, because it does a couple of things, right? Immediately.
For me as well.
Well, thank you. I mean, you get to see Miss Susan, so I mean, that alone is value.
Absolutely.
Right? but what it does, right? It tells our people, it reminds us, makes us aware that we have an incredible resource within our shores,
yes,
right? And we should draw on that. It also provides an avenue for more of us to hear, more perspectives and to be more encouraged to engage more.
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately, it's sad that as a community, we seem to have this view that if 2 people have opposing views, that they don't get along.
Right.
Or worse, and you guide me in this, please, if politically speaking, because we have this political party system, again, I could be misinterpreting, maybe I just have a different perspective. It's divisive in and of its nature, right?
Mm-hmm.
But if the government sets on, this is what we're going to do, and you, maybe part of the government, maybe one of the political persuasion, maybe you're just a commentator, you say, well, then that means that you're opposed or does it mean that you're just not sure about that particular thing at that particular time? How do we get to that level of, is it maturity? Is it civility? Is it, wait a minute, that's just good? Because, you know what, I'm at a buffet and there are 10 things, but you know what, I don't want 2.
Right.
But I can still have the other 8. Or I only want, you know what, you know.
I think by and large, our representatives, that is our elected members of Parliament, have demonstrated over the years, irrespective of the government, that they can disagree about a particular issue and still understand that they must work together in totality for the betterment of the country, and have done so, to be fair. And that is the most objective explanation that I can offer. And certainly it would be borne out in some of the successes that we've had the good fortune to enjoy. At the same time, yes, there is an element of society which or who does not necessarily grasp that in its entirety, because some people feel that if you are, like you're saying, if you are opposed to a person's perspective on a particular issue, and that issue is a very controversial one, then it stirs up a certain amount of emotional anger, or anger as an emotion, which causes you to then distance yourself from that person. I think the most pervasive way in which to handle that type of thing, and most people will recognize it, whether they call it as such or not, is through communicating. And through communicating as objectively as possible, but nevertheless, communication is key. And I'm going to draw on the experience that I had the good fortune of gaining in Canada at United World Colleges when we discussed one of the most fundamental mantras of the Pearson United World College in Canada, quoting from a previous Premier of Canada when he said that, how can people understand each other if they don't know each other, and how can they know each other if they don't talk to each other? Essentially, I mean, I'm paraphrasing, but and that applies around the world, irrespective of culture or issue. And so I think it plays right into this entire question that we need to be able to talk about issues even if we disagree.
So now I would like, obviously for people to weigh in, and we talked about beach access, and for some, it may be, we'll talk about it again, what does that matter? But it may not just be the access for safety reasons, for, getting the enjoyment of getting to and from the beach. Something happens in the water and that person needs to get to the roadside, or the people on the road, important people in the ambulance and needs to get to the, you may not think that's important for some of us, but just get out there and throw the line and catch a fish. I don't know. You probably can't do that anymore. So it may be beach access. But also, and I do apologize to you, I trying to save people, and I love people. I mean, I prefer paper over coin, but that's another paper. But I was to bring with me, today's the 20th, right? And isn't today the day that is the final day to comment on some of the changes that were, what was the word, negotiated? Interesting. Between parent and child. And I don't have my copy. So can I ask someone out there, you know what? Can you get me a copy of that thing that is not very many, and they're not that, anyway, I shouldn't put it that way. Send it to me if you can. I would like to see it. I want to copy that now. If you got to send it to Miss Susan and, WhatsApp it to us. That it's on the website somewhere, but it's hidden somewhere. Maybe it's not. Let's go to our phones though, Mr. P. Let's take our first caller. Good afternoon. Welcome. Thanks for calling.
Good afternoon, Adrian, to you and your guest in studio.
Good afternoon,
sir. Good afternoon, sir. How are you today?
I'm very thankful.
Okay, don't lose your train of thought, but a mango is starting to come in yet? Okay, just checking.
You just started off this segment by saying that the wealth of experience and knowledge that we have that came on, and that is indeed true, but so sad because we have knowledge here that far beyond our needs. But if as long as somebody that hasn't come here with an accent, whether American or British. Your knowledge means nothing whatsoever as a Caymanian. And because Caymanians is we are our biggest enemies. We refuse to take advice from our own. We refuse to take advice from our own. As you drive around, you listen and you hear and you see what is going on. In just not too far from now, we're already there. We're going to be a second-class citizen in our own for people in our own land. There's others that's going to be like I said, that's happening already. Pretty soon we're going to have to get permission to leave our homes from those that have come to our shores and have found the milk and honey here. I'm not against any expat or foreign national, whatever you want to call them. I'm not against no one. I have had many good working relationships with many of foreign people right in my own land here.
Mm-hmm.
But the notion that we should be second class in our island, in our own land, is a very bad one, and it leads for many things, for the potential for a lot of things to happen, right?
If I could ask you, though, okay, well, go ahead. I'll make sure I don't put you off.
And we need to, we really need to cling to that knowledge base that we have here, because remember,
Mm-hmm.
that man that flies in here and tell you, oh, if you put this dock down here, or if you put this tree down here, oh, no adverse effect. He leave, he took your money and he left. But when you put that dock there and you plant that tree there, and you suddenly find out that it is not what it should be, he don't really be found. There's no liability that lies on him. But if you take the advice of the Caymanian, at least every day you see him, because you see the kind of advice that you gave,
mm-hmm.
or you have the ability to you got the ability to I think the knowledge that here needs to be utilized more. That is the long and short.
Exactly. Now, let me ask. You shared, and I thought this was your word, the notion that we must be second class in our own country, right? I think that was exactly almost verbatim. Can I ask specifically, because that's something that we seem to say. Now, why is there such a notion? I mean, it's almost like it's dogma. We accept it.
I mean, it's most of them do,
mm-hmm.
but I can tell you who don't, and that's me.
Okay.
I don't accept it, but most of my Caymanian buddies accept it.
Right. So if you flip it on the other side, and people say, "Well, wait a minute now, charter begins at home, yada yada yada." Let's make sure that the people in another country get a chance to benefit from what the country has to offer. How is that somehow construed to be anti-whatever? And what's the wonderful word that we like to use? Xenophobia? And I'm not saying that anybody is suggesting that we should be vitriolic in our approach. We should be disrespectful. We should be anti or whichever, right? But how is it that somehow wanting the best for your people in your country translates into meaning that you're, not loving, kind, generous, considerate, you're something else?
Well,
something happened there. We have to, Miss Susan, you sure? I don't want to take a break. I stay right here and talking. Yeah, right. We got to take a break. All right, listen. She is in charge, boy, one of these days, I'll get in charge. All right, when we come back, quick short break. Mr. Patrick, I do apologize, sir, but please hold your thought and share with me. Come back. To our listeners equally, we're going to have some fun today, and we're going to make sure that everybody has a chance to share as they wish. Stay tuned for Talk Today.
Start getting your debt under control with a debt consolidation loan from Fidelity Bank. At Fidelity, your loan decision is quick with no runaround. Plus, with competitive interest rates and fees, we will help you reduce your monthly payments and get you back to living again. Don't let the burden of overwhelming debt tie you down this year. Call Fidelity today and let's make it happen with a Fidelity Bank debt consolidation loan. Fidelity, we're good for you.
Marianne Radmacher once said, "As we work to create light for others, we naturally light our own way."
Calling all SIXA members. The Cayman Islands Civil Service Association annual general meeting for the Sister Islands is Thursday, February 20th in Cayman Brac at the District Administration Building in Stake Bay in the conference room located on the second floor starting at 12:15 p.m. A light lunch will be provided.
Come out and vote for your two BRAC representatives who will serve on the 2020 Management Council. Hear the President give his annual report, ask your questions, share your ideas, and make suggestions. You can also email your questions in advance of the meeting to cicsa@gov.ky. There will also be a door prize raffle of a Cayman Airways voucher, and the first 35 persons to sign in at the meeting will get a free gift.
Members, please make every effort to attend this very important SIXA annual general meeting for the Sister Islands on the BRAC Thursday, February 20th at the District Administration Building in Stake Bay in the conference room located on the second floor starting at 12:15 p.m.
Red Sky at Night. Terrific live music, actors, dancers, comedians, and poets. Over 100 artists and artisans selling paintings, crafts, jewelry, and accessories, as well as delicious local food. Red Sky at Night at the Harquail Cultural Center. Saturday, February 29th, 4 p.m. to midnight. Don't miss out. Tickets on sale now at eventpro.ky. A CNCF production. Sponsored by Hurley's Media, Pepsi, Caribbean Airlines, and Radio Cayman.
So far, more than 175 Cayman parrot owners have registered their birds with the Department of Environment.
That's good, but we know it's not all of them.
You have until February 29th to sign up to register your parrot.
Unregistered Cayman parrots found in captivity after that will be considered illegal.
Remember, registration allows you to legally keep your bird. We don't want to take away anyone's pet.
So do what's right.
Register your Cayman parrot and help us protect our national bird.
For more information, contact the Department of Environment.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back. The phone lines are open at 949-8037 or toll free with the kind compliments of Flo at 1-800-534-8255. To the last caller, we do apologize. It was not anything deliberate or in. If you disconnected, we understand, but just for what it's worth. On good days, I would be a bit, how do they say? How little fun at some people's expense. Say, gee, you see that boy? You start getting heated discussion and they pull the plug on you, but we're not going to say that. Because we have the excellent company of a gentleman who is not only eloquent and diplomatic, but who is also insightful and intelligent, Mr. Patrick Schmidt.
I thought you were talking about somebody else.
Yeah. No, man, I don't talk about people unless they're present. Is it okay if I say thanks for checking and trying to electronically find the thing I was looking for in relation to the Constitution?
Yeah, of course.
And success?
There's an email. Well, the web link does not appear to work, at least not on my phone. Okay. Could be another case of sabotage, Yeah.
Well, that's on the Office of the Premier website that you go to?
Correct. Okay. And also there's an email address which refers you to any commentary that you might wish to make can be sent to constitution@gov.ky.
And today is the deadline, I think, right?
It doesn't specify in this particular article.
Okay, I thought so. And the only reason why is that it's not just that I like talking about politics and understanding politics, and people can draw whatever inference they want, doesn't matter. I look at it as being civics, right? Mm-hmm. But equally, here is something that there are some interesting proposed changes, so to speak, and not much of us want to talk about it. Not many of us know. Well, what are they talking about? Oh, yeah, they got changed the name to Legislative Assembly to Parliament. What does that mean? It doesn't mean anything. Yeah.
I was under the impression, sorry for the interruption,
no,
but I was
not at all.
under the impression that the time period had now effectively closed off.
Yeah.
Hence the reason why the link doesn't work.
Well, today was supposed to be the deadline. I think what someone reminded me this morning, but
right.
it doesn't really matter to me.
Right.
Does it?
Fair enough. I guess not. Certainly not if it's closed off.
Yeah. No, the reason why I say that is that I had an interesting discussion last evening, and I think I like the caller prior was sharing, like the resource that is in this country, the resources that exist in this country, not just for those who have been here for a long time, those who have come in recent times and say, wow, this is a beautiful place. What can I do? How can I contribute? They just don't want to take, they want to give. And then for those who can go back generations and say, wow, it's amazing, right? With the greatest respect, Miss McLean earlier said, all the charities and NGOs that exist here, they get assistance, financial assistance, in-kind assistance. And there are many in a small community, and we do. That's great. That's a testament to the health, the strength. The question is, to what extent are we as a people prepared to engage, to get involved, to make sure that we're informed, to challenge something, to champion something? And it doesn't matter what that something is. With the greatest of respect, not to disparage the judiciary or any particular individual, but the court makes a ruling on something. It could be a traffic offense that finds its way through the courts. It could be some very, very heinous thing that we've seen sadly has made its way through the courts because they've committed on our shores. And the community says, but no, that's not good enough. That's not what we think should happen. It's not, a sentence that reflects in the community's mind the gravity. Or they may say, wow, for Spliff Ganja, he got 50 years? Not that that ever happened, right? But where is the community, one, knowing about it? And then after they know about whatever this thing is, it could be an amendment to a law, it could be a proposed law, it could be a new regulation or policy that's being discussed. It could be a particular private sector entity, for profit, deciding that this is what it's going to do for its own business. And you might say, well, they can do what they want because they're private, they're not breaking the law. But if the community doesn't think that this thing is reflective of what is the then norm, where are we to comment on whatever this thing is? And that spans almost as wide a cross-section of the community as I can think of in a very short time. And I come to the conclusion, two things. One, we're so busy, we don't know anything's happening.
Yes.
We're just trying to tread water, to stay afloat. And secondly, is there courage amongst us to comment?
I don't think the courage is. If you're asking my opinion, I don't think the courage is a problem. By and large, any more so than it is anywhere else in the world. We're all people, and I think that the Caymanians are relatively quite courageous. What I do think is that your first point is the more pervasive one, in that many Caymanians find themselves so caught up in just trying to deal with day-to-day life and the responsibilities that seem to just mount and mount and mount, and the complexities of life, as we deal with the various aspects of our growing economy and the struggles that we have, and earthquakes that pop up and all sorts of the other things, that it becomes a virtual impossibility for most people to take the kind of or participate in the kind of way that they would like to participate in an ideal world. Now, granted, that's the same again the world over, but when you're dealing with a relatively small population, and I'm not talking about the 70,000.
I round up to 100,000. I mean, just for fun.
Be careful. But we're not talking about the 70,000 minus the 30,000 work permit holders and dependents, with no disrespect to those persons whatsoever. But we're talking about people who are actually by definition Caymanian, so a significantly smaller portion than the 70,000. We're looking more like 40,000, and these are of course approximate figures. The fact is 40,000 people can only do so much, and when you're talking about running all aspects or virtually all aspects of an entire system, which it takes to govern a country, that's a lot of responsibility.
So then come back to what. And again, the phone lines are open, and I'm, certainly always mindful that people should be encouraged to share an opinion. It doesn't mean that that is the only opinion. Doesn't mean even it's a good opinion. I just think that if there's a safe, nurturing environment that you know, that you're invited, that you're welcome to voice an opinion, that's healthy, that's helpful. So hopefully people will avail themselves of that. 949-8037 or 1-800-534-8255, or they can WhatsApp 925-3261. The caller prior talked about, this acceptance of the notion that, but I wonder to what extent our people are weighing in on what is transpiring in the society. We go back, I don't want to belabor anything, but we go back to an exercise that we talked about. Was it Vision 2000 something?
Yeah.
That was a long time ago.
Yes.
And I like the first word, vision.
Yes.
Right? An exercise that seemingly included a lot of people.
It did.
From a wide cross-section of society. I think some of whom, at that point in time, were connected to the country, but they didn't have any sort of permanent immigration status or the other.
Yes.
But they loved this place. Now, are we missing an opportunity to somehow revisit what exists in order to say, what are we going to look like 50 years from now? And how do we get there? We could have 500,000 people in X time. I'm not thinking about as proposing that or saying that that's reasonable. But as, exaggerated as that probably is, right? Could we and should we be looking at what our country will be like in 100 years' time? Not just 10 years, not just 50 years, but 100 years. Knowing that all sorts of things are going to transpire, from Mother Nature intervening to man-made, acts of, war even.
My own personal opinion is that obviously the more we can plan, the better off we'll be, especially if those are realistic plans and inclusive plans.
Right.
Obviously, we need to deal with the day-to-day. First and foremost, as a matter of priority. But it's hard to contextualize the day-to-day if you don't have short, medium, and long-term plans.
Right.
And so I think that to the extent possible, it would be great to have another shot at the type of plan that Vision 2008 was. And I can speak specifically to that without making it an extensive one. But I was involved in the roundtable, of which there were about 16, I believe. Stand to be corrected on that. But the roundtable on immigration, and on that roundtable, we had 54 persons, comprised almost equally 50%, between persons who were already designated as Caymanian and persons who were not yet designated as Caymanian or were not Caymanian but just interested in the future of the country. And amazingly, after the numerous weeks of deliberations and some strong emotions being expressed and so on, obviously immigration in particular is a very emotive matter, but we were able to reach, and the product that you saw and we can bring up at any point in time, in terms of the strategic plan on immigration, was a product that was reached by consensus. So that plan was a consensus plan between 54 people representing all sectors of society, Caymanian and non-Caymanian alike. So it is possible, and I think that in an ideal world, we should try to achieve that again and stick to it.
Many would read, some have visited, some would champion, look at what Singapore did, in a decade. And some would say, they could do it because of... But the question is, if you're not prepared to plan, if you're not prepared to take action,
sacrifice,
and you're not prepared to make that sacrifice. I don't know many people, honestly, who got better at a particular sport if they didn't practice, rehearse. That makes them consider the effort. No matter how good that potential player is, over time, somebody's going to get better, or that skill is not going to be sharpened. So what's hindering us? I mean, is it that we're so laissez-faire, lackadaisical, lazy? I mean, what is it?
Well, I know that's a rhetorical question because the truth of the matter is that in my opinion, the truth of the matter is that you cannot say that Caymanians are lazy. That is most definitely not the case. Not at all, my friend. By and large, people here are extremely hardworking. Caymanian and non-Caymanian alike. Yeah. Most of the people that we've welcomed into our community have been hardworking. And if I could use a simplistic example, if you take a cross-section of 10 persons from what is considered Caymanian society and what is considered non-Caymanian, and in particular when you think back to when we were in school, you were a couple of years ahead of me, of course, but but in all seriousness, when we think back to when we were in school and we take, say for example, 10 of our teachers who were by and large foreign teachers, they showed a genuine interest by and large in our progress, except
the football field. They were in a different house. Not just
and they came from all over the world, and it was quite fantastic, the level of education that we were able to obtain. Yeah. Simultaneously, Caymanians were very much taking advantage of that opportunity. Yeah. So
All right, well, listen, let's wait on that. And let's ask a couple of questions. But equally, let's join our callers after the break. 949-8037 or 1-800-534-8255. That was probably a decent accent. No, I don't know. Patrick Schmidt sits there. And WhatsApp 925-3261. Stay tuned for Talk Today.
King Sports Center takes pride in being more than just an ordinary gymnasium. For 14 years, their multi-purpose facility has been providing the community with a variety of sporting, recreational, and relaxation activities. King Sports Center has a bowling alley, lounge bar, multi-purpose rooms, powerhouse gym, rock climbing wall, bungee jumping, a 10,000 square foot rink, and so much more. For more information on the variety of services, call their friendly staff today at 946-5464 or email kings@candw.ky or visit www.kingsportscenter.com. King Sports Center, your one-stop shop for fitness, recreation, and relaxation.
Preventing dengue is as simple as preventing mosquito bites. Use a mosquito repellent, wear protective clothing, and stay indoors during early dawn and dusk when mosquitoes are most active. Control the places around you where mosquitoes breed. Remove stagnant water in outdoor and household settings. As a weekly habit, persons should change the water in vases, clear the water in saucers under potted plants, and ensure air conditioner drip trays are free of stagnant water. Outdoor objects capable of holding water should be kept empty and preferably disposed of or put into dry storage if not used. These include open bottles and tins, watering cans, buckets, empty paint tins, and old vehicle tires. Do your part to control the spread of dengue. The dengue virus is an infectious disease transmitted through mosquito bites. Symptoms may come on as early as 4 days or as late as 3 weeks following an infection. There is no vaccine or specific medication to treat dengue. Symptoms of dengue include high fever, headache, pain behind the eyes, joint and muscle pain, and rash. If persons have any of these symptoms, they should go to the nearest health center or hospital. It is advised to drink lots of liquids and avoid medication that contains aspirin.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back. Thanks for joining us. Thanks to the Patrick Schmidt for his company.
Thank you.
I really appreciate it. Hopefully it'll get us encourageous. Mr. Schmidt, we do have a call. Good afternoon and welcome. You want to talk today?
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, ma'am. How are you today?
Just fine.
Right.
I have a curious question. I don't know if this is the right time to ask it or what, but I'm going to throw it out there, okay?
Yes, ma'am.
I was listening to BBC News just the other morning, and they were talking about how they deported so many people back to Jamaica.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you heard about it, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And apparently they are not pleased about them coming back there because apparently they leaving their farm. Some of them must have went there when they was young and all that kind of stuff and growing up there and have children and wives and whatever the case may be.
Right.
So I heard this Jamaican lady on the radio, the BBC radio, saying that why send them back home when their family is in England and they don't have anything here, and where they got to go from here, how they're going to get started again in life. You know what I mean? But I just wondering if that's going to have an effect on my Cayman Island down the road sooner or later when it comes to them probably trying to come here to do employment or try to get back into England. I don't know if they have any red tape on them that they're going to follow them wherever they may go, because you don't know Cayman is a sucker for just picking up any old thing and let it slide by, and when things break loose and you want to try to correct it, it's too late then, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But I'm very concerned, and I'm not trying to throw iron stones out there on the people and all that kind of stuff, but I would just really would like to hear somebody else talk about it to see if this would happen to us, if they would try to come into the Cayman Island on work permit, come and live amongst us. They're going home as with some crime records and so forth. You know what I don't know if I'm saying it all right, Sterling.
No, we hear you. Yeah.
But really and truly, it's something for us to think about.
Yes,
and I hope that our immigration and our government will look into the situation, because we have a lot of stuff going on right here in Cayman, and we can't catch this one, we can't catch that one, and there's so many things happening, and a lot of stuff is being not being taken care of with the law and so forth.
Right.
So I'm just curious about that situation, and I just got a strong belief that we will be getting some of them here in the Cayman Island, one way or another.
Well,
Sterling,
thank you. No, thank you for sharing. You know, I'm sure if you're thinking of it, someone else probably is as well.
Yeah, and Sterling, I think I called you just a couple of days ago in regards to these open back trucks carrying all these different materials and so forth on them.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what's going to happen, but I tell you, Sterling, it's a serious situation. I was going east just the other day, and this guy was going with all this PVC pipe. It was hanging from the tail of the truck off and an upper top. And I mean, these people just carry all type of material on these back of these trucks, and there's I don't see no officers giving these guys any tickets or saying that they're not supposed to do it because it is so dangerous.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what's going to.
I guess the open back truck is like the open back shoe. You be careful, you can always something can fall out and fall off, huh?
Sterling, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Bye. Bye-bye.
Take care. Mr. Schmidt, I mean, the caller has pointed something that is in the news. I mean, we've seen it's not just a wind rush, as it were, but any thoughts, sir?
Well, yes. I mean, I've actually heard the same concerns expressed already by other persons in the community. And I just simply like to say this for those who do not know. We in the Cayman Islands are party to a multilateral treaty on the exchange of incarcerated persons, where those persons, for example, have dual nationality. So that, for example, if there's a Caymanian person living and working in Canada or the United States, and that person is incarcerated for a wrongdoing, which is also considered illegal in the Cayman Islands, then upon the request of the individual and his or her family, it is possible for the Cayman Islands, and in this instance, or for the purposes of the example, the United States, to enter into an agreement for that incarcerated person to be transferred to our jails if that person is still a Caymanian. Likewise, and there have been there have been such exchanges already. Likewise, there has been persons that we have sent back to their places of origin, and the fundamental basis of this is the equal distribution of costs of incarcerating persons. Now, in terms of the concern, the other concern about addressing the possibility of those persons ending up here and potentially perpetrating additional crimes, of course, the immigration authorities now, in the context of WRC, has the responsibility to ensure that there are proper background checks, such that where those background checks would affect such a decision, that those persons do not enter the Cayman Islands with a work permit. Yeah.
Well, equally too, though, I wonder the often touted fingerprinting system that we were to employ, to what extent that would help us in facilitating these background checks on all individuals applying for entry, whether it's work permit related or otherwise. Now, I believe in the BBC News in recent days, one of the British MPs had shared, these individuals didn't commit any immigration-related offenses. They committed other, offenses. Now, to what extent should a jurisdiction, not speaking to the political motivation, the societal outcry or what have you, but says, hey, in our system we have these people who we've categorized as such, and we don't believe they're subject to remaining here. So as an autonomous nation, we're going to exclude them, declare them persona non grata, deport them, whatever. Now, is that something that a sovereign nation should be able to do, humanely? Is it, as the caller has shared, well, if you move a person from a jurisdiction where they've put down roots and all of a sudden now they've back elsewhere, what does that do for everything? Could you also ask the question, well, wait a minute now, you didn't just come in there and sneak it through the borders, you committed heinous acts of violence, or you did certain things. Does the ends justify the means? You got your degree, but you cheated your way into mid-school or whatever the case is.
Well, the thing is that that once a person commits a crime, as to the question of fingerprinting or any other type of biometrical identification, obviously that only functions to the extent that there's exchange of information that includes such biometrical information between the relevant jurisdictions. If country A has information which is stored per fingerprint, for example, but it does not provide that to the Cayman Islands in this situation, then obviously we don't have cognizance of it and cannot take it into consideration, which is a real problem. I agree. And at the same time, the question, or rather, as a result, the question of persons being sent to places where perhaps they have less connection because they've lived there for less time. This is, in my mind, just a question of nationality. If you are dual national, or indeed if you're a national of one country but you are remaining in another country with a right to reside, but you're not yet achieving citizenship, then the prevailing position is that the country in which you committed the offense, where you just have the residency, is in fact able, in most instances, to repatriate you to your home country where you have a citizenship. The one thing that I understand that they cannot do is to make a person persona non grata and deport them where they have no other nationality.
Okay. I want to maybe ask what I should do with nationality just in general, but in particular in the Cayman context. But something that the caller shared makes me harken back to a comment an elderly gentleman in the immediate aftermath of Hurricane Ivan shared with our political directorate. Good fortune or bad, I happened to be in the presence as this discussion was unfolding. And the gentleman said, forcefully, but very respectfully, you've thrown open the borders in order to bring people in to help rebuild. But if you don't screen people, then are you compromising the safety? Maybe some of us lived in some of those places, and my words, we left there, we escaped because we were fearful of that safety. Now, 40 years, 30 years, however many years later, are you potentially putting this back on a populace? Is this then imperative for us and consort with the UK government to say, okay, if a person has been removed from a jurisdiction, to make sure that the checks and balances are in place, using biometrics or otherwise, to ensure that these people are not able to easily navigate and manipulate the system and end up back in the country they were deported from, in a neighboring country or elsewhere. Now, maybe it's easier these days than before to do one or the other. I'm not sure.
There's certainly no foolproof method of guaranteeing these things. But what I'd like to say with respect to the example you used of Hurricane Ivan, right, is that when a community is put into a national emergency, sometimes you have to go around the usual system and get help where you can get help. And that was certainly the case for us with our Hurricane Ivan experience, which was, of course, horrific. But what is important there then is to have the necessary follow-up so that once those things are sorted, without showing any lack of gratitude or anything, simultaneously making sure that we then bring things into line with what our normal system of checking would be. And that would mean going back and looking at each individual who came in, which is easy enough given that we're surrounded by sea and control our borders by and large. And we can go back and check these things and ensure that things are in line with what they should be.
Right. I want to ask about dual nationality in relation, and not just invite your comment, please. I don't want to put you in, hopefully, in an untenable position, but do this in public. But I'd ask it in the context of what the Honorable Deputy Governor shared many years ago during a discussion on air. I believe I recall what he said accurately, so I'm not misspeaking. He shared that over the years, people were in Cayman declared as persona non grata. They left the jurisdiction, and I believe he said on a daily basis, but certainly very frequently, they're receiving communication from these people who I want to come back to Cayman. Right? Maybe they have children here, maybe they have relationships here. There's a reason they want to return, and every so often, very frequently, there's a communication, a phone call, a letter, an email, or something. And I was asking myself since then, what do we do there? Because something transpired that will sort of created a scenario that this person now has been declared persona non grata, has been removed, as it were, from the jurisdiction. Do we ever entertain that? I mean, should we ever entertain that? You're out, you're gone, no more coming back. I mean, what do you think?
Well, I mean, the thing is that people can change, right?
They can. Leopard don't change the spots, does it? I just kidding.
Sometimes they do.
I just tease you.
But that said, I don't actually know is the answer. I don't actually know the procedural requirements.
No, and I don't want you to speak that because I don't know either.
Right, and so the other thing is that usually there is a method to pursue the matter through the courts as well, which is probably the more viable method rather than trying to ask people to create effectively a system.
Right.
And then you mentioned it in the context of dual nationality, which I thought was interesting.
Yeah.
I wasn't quite sure where you were going with that, but
I found a way to weave it in.
But I mean, we have a lot of people who are dual nationals, obviously, and inclusive of myself. But as of
hang on, I got West Bay and Cayman. Is that dual? I'm just checking.
I would like to say no. We're all Caymanians.
Okay, let's check.
And we love our Cayman Bracas too, and
some of us do.
And so that having been said, the fact of the matter is that we have many people who, for various reasons, especially given the small size of our community, a lot of people were born overseas for medical reasons, for example, and then that was usually in the United States. They obviously had a right to obtain and still have a right to obtain U.S. nationality, and there's nothing in Cayman law which prevents it.
A break again, Miss Susan? Man, you got more breaks than that 30-minute commercial.
Go.
All right, take a break. And I want to maybe expound further on the dual nationals, not only in the context of what I said, but
allegiance.
Yeah. Okay. So, phone lines are open, Miss Susan. You can take calls. You sure? No, just kidding. She's so amazing. She's right there. A bit lonely, perhaps. So call her. Give her a shout. 949. That is code 949-8237. I can't give you the other number. Okay, I will. 1-800-534-8255. You can, be cheap and use the toll-free number, or you can, put 2 cents in the economy. Let's get call us. You don't need a number that works for you. Stay tuned for Talk Today.
This February at Beyond Basics Medical Day Spa, enjoy sensational savings on your favorite spa services. Buy up to 2 of any of the following spa services for just $99 each. Laser hair removal to get rid of unwanted hair. Dermaplaning to smooth and brighten skin. Hydrofacials to treat acne, pigmentation, and dehydrated skin. Or cellulite and fat reduction in those stubborn areas. That's up to 2 services at Beyond Basics for just $99 each. Offer valid until February 29th. And services must be used by April 30th. Call Beyond Basics Medical Day Spa at 925-SKIN or visit Beyond Basics Spa on Instagram and Facebook for details.
Your favorite family fun day is back. the 53rd Annual Agriculture Show at the Stacey Watler Agricultural Pavilion in Lower Valley. Theme, Agriculture for the Future. Ash Wednesday, February 26th. Family fun for everyone. Acrobatic show, cooking competitions, produce, plants, pony ride, petting zoo, rodeo, and so much more. Gates open at 7 a.m. with ample parking. General admission is only $10. Children ages 2 through 11, $5. And under 2 are free. Or buy your raffle ticket including entrance fee for a chance to win $20,000 and so much more. For more information, visit them on Facebook or 345agriculture@gmail.com. Put down your iPad and get back to your roots at the 53rd Annual Agricultural Show, February 26th in Lower Valley.
Do you think my kid is not into that? When it comes to marijuana and other drugs, well, think again. Being a teen in this country isn't easy. They face a lot of pressures and might overlook the values you taught them. Even the teen least expected can be tempted to try drugs. As a parent, you are the biggest influence in your kids' lives. So when you're talking to them, be clear and firm about the subject of drugs. Listen to them. They might be at a crossroad and need your help. Talk to your teens about drugs before someone else does. For more information, call 949-9000 or visit us at www.ndc.ky. This message is brought to you by the National Drug Council.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome back to Talk Today. 949-8037, 1-800-534-8255. And, you're saying, man, that fella sound like he making some good sense today. It's probably because of Patrick Schmidt. You might be saying, boy, that fella sound like he really, really courageous today. Probably because of Patrick Schmidt. You might say, but that fella don't look that handsome today. It's probably because of Patrick Schmidt. He looks so handsome, you probably don't want to look that good next to him as well.
Or they might just be saying, I wish Patrick Schmidt would shut up and let me talk.
No, man. What I would love is for us as a society to get to a place, because I think we're getting there, where we are willing, we're able, because there's the opportunity, there's the resource, there's the willingness, there's the time that we can share publicly on our talk shows, because they're a growing number, that we can assemble, because there are places to do that. Our town halls sometimes are being used for different things, and other venues, including our universities and the like, and get this public discourse respectfully, civilly, but very sometimes deliberately, challenging certain things. Now, there are going to be those who are going to have an agenda, and that's just par for the course. But man, if we all engage, and something that we were sharing earlier that I think is most unfortunate, not only because it exists, but because we don't seem to appreciate how it's just there and it's accepted. Time. We're so busy. Our jobs are so important, right? We got to tend to our clients and our customers, our patients, and all the things, our families. But we need to make sure that we can make enough money. Not because we want to get ahead and have a big nest egg, but because we need that extra 2 cents to be able to survive. Not because it's expensive in and of itself, but because there's so many expenses.
It is expensive, though.
It is expensive, but relatively speaking, is it any more? Because, take good quality chocolate.
Right.
And that's an issue that as more and more we think about it, we realize probably a very unfair industry in terms of extraction and manufacturing and marketing, right? But leave that for now. The problem is, though, you buy something that is of a good quality.
Yeah.
Right? A shirt, a shoe, a sweet. Would you not be prepared to pay more for quality, right? For the experience, for the safety, the security, the stability, than you would, that whole thing. Right?
If you had the money to do so.
If you had the money to do so.
Yeah.
So in asking this thing, at some point, in having that public discourse, do we need the luxury of time because we have the financial wherewithal to be able to stick, and say, listen, we're going to take some time off, an extended holiday. Maybe we're not working 8 days a week. Maybe it's a 4-day work week. Not because we're not every day working 16 hours, but because, you know what, you need a little time for yourself. Those are things that when some people hear, they immediately gravitate. You look at some jurisdictions that operate under 4-day work week. You look at the Utah experiment a few years ago and see the financial as well as the societal benefit of giving the people time to think, to exercise, to fellowship. It's going to cost us, very little, but it's going to save us so much. Now, are we willing to do that in this jurisdiction?
You mean give people time?
And allow people? I don't know to what extent it is the common practice. I understand that it's sort of the growing fear. The expectant mother. And let me give as best a perfect example. 2 individuals decided how they are constituted, have consciously, deliberately planned a family. And the physician is on board, the extended family is on board, the employer is on board, the colleagues on everybody, everything going perfect. And the child is going to come whether through a planned extraction or just prayerful extraction. Right? Maybe not the best way to put it.
Right.
And we get 6 weeks paid maternity. Now there's a couple of days of paternity. Just the words alone seem to be unfortunate.
10 days.
Yeah. And then 6 more weeks, if you can, unpaid. I don't know. Is that enough time to recover from what has transpired physiologically?
Right. I mean, obviously the ladies would have a far better perspective on this.
Yes, sir.
But it is my understanding that by and large most ladies do not consider that to be sufficient time.
I would think so. Yeah, exactly.
And thus they obviously find themselves in a position where they then have to make a choice. The family has to make a choice of giving up for a period of time one income, perhaps even suffering some setbacks in terms of their career path. And those are, of course, are detrimental. But bring it back to the larger picture, if you will, of what we were discussing from the time the gentleman was inadvertently cut off.
Or he disconnected, or the gremlins in the system. Yeah, we no longer had his benefit of his. Okay.
His point was one that we hear frequently, and that is very much the situation of and is all tied into this whole overall question about quality of life,
right?
In the Cayman Islands in particular, and what I'm getting at is this: that in addition to the lack of communication, we also have the fundamental problem of the having to cater to the lowest common denominator, insofar as people are so weary of that lowest common denominator in terms of persons on both sides of the coin doing things which are not acceptable to the remainder of society, and as a result of that, it really does spoil things for the others. And the same can be related to so many different examples, inclusive of the one that you just put forward.
And what if expectant mothers, despite what the law may be, what if there's a fear, real or perceived, that should they go on maternity leave, should they take the legally mandated minimum, that they may come back and find themselves displaced? What if they were to take an extended leave for whatever reason and come back and go, I don't have a job, whatever the reason, right? Real or imagine, a perceived fear that exists. What is that doing for that family, for that person in terms of career development, upward mobility, and the like? And then what if, as a result of that, other things transpire? The contracted outsourcing, as it were, of the child rearing, the physiological and psychological and societal, what can I say, consequences? of the absent, parent. Just questions,
Yes.
Anyway.
Well, to deal with the first thing first, the question of having more time, if we compare, for example, United States and Japan, Japan, I'm fairly certain, has the largest number of public holidays in the year on the Gregorian calendar, and whereas the United States probably has, of industrialized nations, has the least. But is that beneficial to one more so than the other? It's really hard to say. It depends on who you ask.
Yeah.
So now relating that over to the question of maternity leave, and indeed extended maternity leave, if you will, even if say a professional mother wishes to take off, and it is agreed between the family and they can manage it, to take off 5 years whilst the two children, for example, are getting to a crucial age. Once that period is over, then how easy, I believe you're asking, is it for them to reintegrate?
Yeah.
Especially professionally, and I think it's probably quite tough.
Right.
And it's certainly not very fair.
All right.
In my opinion.
Well, let's maybe continue that. Maybe we'll go in a different direction. But when we come back from the news break, the phone lines remain open. Stay tuned for Talk Today.
Today's biggest news.
Radio Cayman.
It's only 2 species that we have, on my own.
Generations present.
Your voice, your choice. For today's biggest news.
Access.
Local, regional, international. This is headlines from Radio Cayman's newsroom team.
Today's biggest news.
With your latest headlines, I'm April Cummings. Cayman Finance says the Tax Justice Network is once again publishing misleading and inaccurate information about the Cayman Islands. In a sternly worded press release, the industry group says TJN appears to be more focused on entertainment than reality, with scoring that skews results. This after TJN put Cayman at the top of its financial secrecy index. In international headlines, Turkey's defense ministry says 2 Turkish soldiers have been killed in an airstrike in Syria's Idlib province. 5 other soldiers were wounded in the attack. The deaths bring to 15 the number of Turkish soldiers killed in Idlib. U.S. President Donald Trump announces that Richard Grenell, the U.S. ambassador to Germany, will become the acting director of national intelligence, a move that puts a staunch Trump ally in charge of the nation's 17 spy agencies. A White House statement says Mr. Grenell is committed to a non-political, non-partisan approach to the job. And the BBC is reporting the computer scientist who invented cut, copy, and paste has died at the age of 74. Larry Tesler started working in Silicon Valley in the early 60s. He is also known for innovations such as search and find and making computers easier for everyday people to use. He was born in the Bronx in 1945, studied at Stanford University in California. He died at the age of 74.
Stay in touch with Radio Cayman for the latest in news and information.
Follow Radio Cayman on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Download the Radio Cayman app or log on to our website, www.radiocayman.gov.ky.
Radio Cayman, your voice, your choice, your radio.
Start getting your debt under control with a debt consolidation loan from Fidelity Bank. At Fidelity, your loan decision is quick with no runaround. Plus, with competitive interest rates and fees, we will help you reduce your monthly payments and get you back to living again. Don't let the burden of overwhelming debt tie you down this year. Call Fidelity today and let's make it happen with a Fidelity Bank debt consolidation loan. Fidelity, we're good for you.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners' participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waging to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back to Talk Today. In the studio, enjoy the excellent company of Mr. Patrick Schmid as we invite you to call and share your thoughts. So, Patrick, thanks, man. It's important, I think, for us as a people to, one, realize and utilize the opportunities that exist to engage publicly.
Yes.
It doesn't mean that we agree. We have to even agree to disagree.
I mean, look at us, for example.
Not too close to the door, please. No, but when I look at and if our guys in our legislative assembly don't mind me calling it the parliament, look at parliaments across the globe, and you see the behaviors of some whether they're professional parliamentarians or whether there's professionals in the parliaments, and they have a protocol, and it's almost, the British Parliament, I think, is the funniest. You know, this question and answer, and everybody rises up, and there's a bunch, and then they sit down in unison. I'm thinking, this is a wave at a football match. You ever watched that sort of rhythmic movement of the parliamentarians on one side, and then there's this pit in the middle, and then whichever? I mean,
the Australian Parliament is just like that, but worse.
I said the British Parliament is the best, right? That's what I just said. And then you look at sometimes other parliaments where, you know what, they get a bit heated.
Yes.
And tempers flare and fists sometimes get exchanged. You know, but they're human, right? Now, where is the populace in making sure that not just accountability and responsibility, but again, they inform, and people in position of leadership are reminded that there's a reason you were put there. Now, I think we have a great place here. I say that I come back to our discussion earlier. So many times, no matter where I go, I'm grateful that people share. Hopefully this doesn't betray any in the trust, because I'm just trying to say thanks for taking me into confidence. Sometimes just sharing the love that they have, the appreciation that they have, not because they're making money here, not just because it's a safe place to visit and to meet people, but, you know, things that we take for granted. You realize that you've got clean water, you got a beach.
We're not at war.
I mean, things that are important to the quality of life, to the safety, the security, the stability. And many of us probably take it for granted. Now, one thing that I won't signal sort of the gentleman, because, you know, I didn't ask him, but he used to be a regular caller to the program, and of everything that he would chat and share, he always found time to remind us that let's not litter the place. You know, let's not throw our garbage anywhere other than properly dispose of it, whether it's the remote areas in Barkas or whether it's along the roadside. And have you seen across Grand Cayman? I won't speak for the BRAC, because I think they still have, you know, the good sense that our ancestors have, that we seem to be losing, you know, the common sense and the respect. You see our roadways, our public roadways, the amount of trash, even in the aftermath of a cleanup. That morning and by afternoon, there's bottles and cans and all sorts of things along that road.
It's absolutely shocking. Yes, absolutely have. And not just that, but where you started out, you know, talking about the roads are not so commonly seen, perhaps, where you might want to walk your dogs or what have you. Barkas National Park being one example. You know, it is amazing to see refrigerators, air conditioning units, all sorts of things that are just dumped in there, and I can't understand how people could conscientiously do that. If they can get it as far as Barkas National Park, why can't they take it to the dump?
But what about people? And I'm not just talking about the yard clippings. So they've trimmed their hedge, they've weeded out their garden, whatever, and they take it on the lot, you know, next to them or adjacent or just down the subdivision, and they dump the yard clippings. That's one thing, and here, you know, there at this time. But they take their household garbage, sometimes in a, you know, proper looking garbage bag, and just throw it.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's not even there; they just throw it in a bucket of sorts into those lots. I'm thinking, but why do we do that? And it doesn't matter. Oh, and we say, oh, they're those people from whichever. It doesn't matter where they're from.
No.
That is people living and working here who are here, and we're doing that. That's us. It reflects on us. And how do we get a people to appreciate that that's not what we do? Now, for me, it's that. You mentioned the dog. It's the dog that isn't on a leash or muzzle, or the person walking the dog, whether it's the owner or otherwise, not picking up after the dog. Or, and if this is you and it offends you, it's not my intent, but maybe if it is you and it offends you, you will not be offended, but you will stop the practice. How many times have you seen the person walking the dog may or may not have a leash, but they see you, so they pretend to have the leash, or they have the little bag, because the bag is almost a fluorescent color.
Mm-hmm.
But they never, unless you're watching them, use the bag to pick up the dog droppings.
Right.
They just leave it there.
Right.
But the bag is in hand.
Right.
Now, what point is that?
Right.
I mean, no, mind you, I haven't seen that, statistically speaking, that is that many times, right? Because most people, they pick up. I mean, but yet there are those of us who, we got it for sure. It's like everything else, we got it, but we don't put it to use. So anyway.
I mean, dumping garbage illegally is something which, unfortunately, we suffer from a lot, from all sectors of our society, it seems. And it comes down to a fundamental lack of consideration of the repercussions, not just for others, but for oneself. If you are spoiling a tourism product, if you are spoiling our environment, if you are making things such that something will be permanently damaged, that we need for our environment to function properly, these are all things that should be considered as basic considerations by one and all. And so I can't get my head around why anyone would want to do that.
But are we considering, and again, the phone lines are there if you wish to join our discussion, but it's not just as you shared. Have we thought of it from the perspective of our very health? Not
exactly.
Not in the aftermath of a natural disaster. So, God forbid, a hurricane is blown through, and that particular area where everybody seems to be dumping everything now becomes a health hazard. But what about now? Nice bright shiny day, wonderful weather, no natural disasters of any kind at any point, going down the line or after. But this accumulation of household garbage, are you worried about, well, maybe not just rats and other pests, but what about potentially, again, I don't know, the scientists will tell us, but could that be the breeding ground for disease? Not just the pests.
I'm sure it could, but in addition to that, just from an aesthetic perspective, when you can, from the main road, walking your dog or your cat or your snake or whatever, if you can actually see an accumulation of garbage at regular intervals, or perhaps all along the road, it's just purely unsightly. And what does it say about us as people who live here? To the visitors.
All right. I broached this, and you just said it, so I was led to share it, and maybe a gentleman who is not originally from here, he'll be the first to tell you. I'll be the first to tell you that I don't think you'll find someone who loves this country more than him. Not just through his actions, his words. I mean, so the proof is in the pudding. He said, "What if some of us are doing this, dumping illegally? We're doing it deliberately, and we're doing it maliciously, for whatever reason." He said, "I'll be careful because I don't want to present a problem for him in any which way, right? Not only because he's somewhat, despite who he is and what he does, somewhat reserved and private, like many people." Yeah, he shared, he said, he saw someone toss something. He thought, maybe they're not familiar with it, don't realize. So he spoke to him. Went a certain way, but it happened repeatedly, not with the same person. But over time, he thought, wow, why is that? And anyway, we will pause now. Maybe Miss Susan saved me for herself. But we'll pause, we'll take a break, and we'll take the call. All right. Okay, the call after the break. The break first, then the call. Stay tuned for Talk Today.
Mary Ann Radmacher once said, "As we work to create light for others, we naturally light our own way."
Calling all CICSA members. The Cayman Islands Civil Service Association Annual General Meeting is Friday, February 21st at the GAB Downstairs Conference Room 1038, starting at 12:15 p.m. A light lunch will be provided.
Come out and vote for your 2020 Management Council. Hear the President give his annual report, ask your questions, share your ideas, and make suggestions. You can also email your questions in advance of the meeting to cicsa@gov.ky. There will also be a door prize raffle of Cayman Airways vouchers, and the first 35 persons to sign in at the meeting will get a free gift.
Members, please make every effort to attend this very important upcoming annual general meeting. Remember, it's Friday, February 21st at the GAB Downstairs Conference Room, room 1038, starting at 12:15 p.m. Hope to see you there.
This February at Beyond Basics Medical Day Spa, enjoy skin-sational savings on your favorite spa services. Buy up to 2 of any of the following spa services for just $99 each. Laser hair removal to get rid of unwanted hair. Dermaplaning to smooth and brighten skin. Hydrofacials to treat acne, pigmentation, and dehydrated skin. Or cellulite and fat reduction in those stubborn areas. That's up to 2 services at Beyond Basics for just $99 each. Offer valid until February 29th. And services must be used by April 30th. Call Beyond Basics Medical Day Spa at 925-SKIN or visit Beyond Basics Spa on Instagram and Facebook for details.
The 2020 Cayman Arts Festival is here with performances by the young, talented and versatile Lana Janjanin Trio, a musical mix of classical, jazz, soul and R&B. Saturday, February 22nd, 7 p.m. at the Camana Bay Cinema. Tickets are $40 US for adults and $15 for students. Tickets are available at www.caymanartsfestival.com. For more information, call 922-5550 or email inquiries@caymanartsfestival.com.
Seems like an illusion.
Red Sky at Night. Terrific live music, actors, dancers, comedians, and poets. Over 100 artists and artisans selling paintings, crafts, jewelry, and accessories, as well as delicious local food. Red Sky at Night at the Harquail Cultural Center. Saturday, February 29th, 4 p.m. to midnight. Don't miss out. Tickets on sale now at eventpro.ky. A CNCF production. Sponsored by Hurley's Media, Pepsi, Caribbean Airlines, and Radio Cayman.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome back. Thank you so much for joining us, and I'm very grateful. Hopefully he'll be able to always, as his schedule allows, find 2, 3, 4, 50 hours. Join us, Mr. Patrick Schmidt.
Hello.
All right, we have a call in line.
Yes, we do.
Thank you for holding on during the break. Good afternoon. Welcome. There we go.
They don't love you after all, do you?
Well, boy, Bobo. I'm a man. Anyway, let me leave that be. Listen, if you want to call back, go ahead. Certainly would appreciate it. Everything that anyone has to say has value, and I'm willing to listen.
Doing one of the things that if I may just quickly
of course,
mention again is it seems to me that we have an ongoing issue with for want of a better term, the lack of communication, lack of understanding, and to some extent ill will that passes between multi-generational Caymanians and persons who are relatively new to our society, and getting over that so that we can be together as a more productive society to the extent possible. It seems to me that is something which is just so topical and so consistently topical that it would be really good to hear more people's perspective on it.
Yeah, I certainly would, man. And something that I've been asking myself a few times publicly, how do we build that unity? Whatever that difference that exists, let's not let it divide us, and let's find that there's a respect. And some people have given some ideas to me that I'll share, but let's join this caller. Good afternoon, welcome. You want to talk today?
Hey, yes, good afternoon.
Very blessed and thankful. How about yourself?
Not bad, and good afternoon to your guest too.
Good afternoon, sir.
Just touching on one subject you guys were speaking of. He didn't pick it up, so I decided I'm going to take it to the dump. I decided to rent a dumpster so I can get some other stuff out of the yard, that maybe you want to get away because I don't own a truck anymore. Anyhow, the dumpsters are regulated where you can't put mixed materials in them, right? For the private companies, right? So you can't put a dryer and then put pieces of old lumber, They don't like that, right? Especially the private companies, which I can understand. So I actually cleaned out my van and I put the dryer in and I took it there. But when I got to the dump, it was so overfilled that they said, "Oh no, you have to take it up the hill." Well, that creates an issue for a lot of people, and for me it was because I have a kind of I would say a non-dump vehicle. I have a nice vehicle that I don't want to go all the way up there and cut my tires up or potentially, right? So I actually held that thing in my van back and forth a couple of days until the dumpster at government was cleared to dump it in.
Mm-hmm.
But what I'm trying to say is that I did all that, but I would never consider taking my stuff and throw it on the side of the road. You know, so I give ourselves credit. I mean, I don't know how we were raised or what, but that's not even our, in our vocabulary to throw a piece of a Burger King or a soft drink can out of the window. I mean, I can't. I'm like your guest. I can't even begin to fathom who does this, right?
So then, how? And it's not as you shared. We're not trying to point fingers and blame, but we're trying to accept responsibility and stop this from happening, right? We see it. We see the very identifiable wrappings and containers and products along a public roadways, not even the less trafficked places. So how is it getting there, and how do we prevent it from getting there? Because if it's not Susan, me, you, or Patrick, who is it? It's got to be somebody. I mean, how is it getting there?
It's probably not a, put a conservative number. It's probably not 5,000 people that don't have the values that we have. I have a very strange way. I will try to convince people the right way, but I don't take responsibility for stuff that I learned at a very, very early age. It's like, my parents weren't that special where they went to some special etiquette training to tell me what right and wrong is. You know what I mean? So I take how I was raised. I take credit for what they did, and I take pride in for what they did. I just think that we got a lot of people who don't have civic pride, whether or not they be from here or not.
Right.
I also notice that people will the day after New Year's will do a cleanup, and they will leave that stuff in their yard for the 365 or 60th day until the government decides they're offering a free cleanup.
Yeah.
And I also can't do that, right?
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you sharing that because, well, if it's improper to share this publicly, you tell me. But Brother Naraya from the Church of Christ in West Bay, as I say, to him, is on Waterbury Road, not how we spell. He, together with his congregation and members of the community and the representative in the area, have had regular cleanups along the Waterbury Road.
Mm-hmm.
And he has publicly said, but we do a cleanup in the morning, and by afternoon, the next day, it almost doesn't even look like anybody did anything.
Yeah.
Right? By Waterground Hole, So for the West Bayers who know that, the road that I think is respectfully named after Mr. Garston that takes you down to the bush, you look on the side of that road, trash blowing there all the time. Look at the bypass. I mean, pick a road, and there's trash on that road. How do we stop that? How do we as a people realize that that's, can I use the word the gentleman used to use? Nasty. I mean, how do we get to that point?
To have somebody point it out. I was driving down behind a car the other day,
mm-hmm.
and not one time, but 6 times during the quarter-mile journey, they were cleaning the interior of their car of all food products container that they had for the last 2 days. And the person was in the back seat just throwing them out the window, and like right in front of my vehicle, right?
Wow.
And I sit there going, I really want to say something, but then I'm like, okay, I'm good judge of characters, and I look inside the vehicle and says, well, if you don't want it to escalate, probably don't say anything because,
yeah. Well, I hear you. I was sharing earlier that this gentleman, like I said, he was remarking that he did something similar to what you said that you were considering, and he approached because he's seen it so often in different places, the parking lot of the supermarket. The person looks as if they're trying to hit the garbage can, but not really trying hard to get it in. So when they walk past the garbage can, if they had held the particular soda can, and maybe 2 more steps, they could have dropped it in, or they tossed it out the window. And he said, on many occasions, he shared he's well, I use the word confronted people doing what you say you witness, and a few times it almost escalates into what you said potentially could have happened had you not been a good judge of character as well.
No. The additional one that gets me is on the Newlands bypass. There's one particular lake that is an excavation, I presume, for previous aggregate.
Yeah.
And there's a road down there, and the people, they have signs, and people actually, and I'm not sure how the, you know, I'm not giving those guys, I need to give those guys credit because they work hard, but I think it's just management allocation, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you see a vehicle parked in one of those little side roads, there is this unadvertised means of getting cars and car parts to people. All you do then, you basically park the car, you take off the license, and there's this group of people who knows the signs, and they just start to dismantle a car, and over a period of 2 weeks, the car is bare. And I'm like, I've never seen that anywhere in the world yet.
Yeah, but thanks for sharing that publicly, because I like the way you put it, very diplomatically and respectfully. So this thing exists in our community, and most of us seem to be somewhat aware of it, but yet it's allowed to happen.
Dwayne, I know we have another call coming up.
Yeah,
and
sir.
Pardon me, but if I could just quickly add,
yes, sir.
That I think that you know, people often think of punitive measures first off the bat. I don't think that punitive measures are the most effective. But if we could seek ways of instilling guilt, shame, and a sense of responsibility for such inappropriate action, that would perhaps be more effective.
Yeah, man.
Perfect. Sounds good, guys. Keep up the good work.
Thank you very much, man. Thanks for listening. Thanks for sharing. All right, let's go to the phones and take this the call. Welcome. Thank you for calling.
Thank you for bringing up this subject this evening. I wish that I knew this was the last time I would hear this subject, but it's not just in West Bay that the sides of the roads are being littered. It is disgusting to drive along the island and see the litter along the roads. And like you say, who is it coming from? The 5,000 who have no civic pride? I was hoping when the CCTV cameras were put in, excuse me, that that those cameras would have served a dual purpose and not only catch speeders or crime, but it would also help us to find out who's littering the roads.
Mm-hmm.
But unfortunately, those CCTV cameras aren't serving any purpose. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. And I think that particular issue, thankfully, is one that resonates with us and makes so many of us feel so offended that we're willing to say, okay, how do we address this? Now, what if it isn't 5 of the 50,000? What if it's 45,000? And only 5,000 who are now of the value? No, I'm not saying that it's probably only 5 people. But what if it's one person? If we're not addressing the issue, the naming, the shaming, the somehow making it so that this becomes the ethos, you don't do this. What if we have been so willing for so long to turn a blind eye? Because no harm, no foul, you know? The gentleman called just prior to the last said, oh, well, it's an unofficial network where you park a car, the signs are obvious, you come, you pick it to pieces. Now, if that is what exists and people know about it, so obviously we should be able to address it. But why are we not?
And also, why does it exist? I don't want to spread the wings too wide.
No.
But the fact is that Cayman is an extremely expensive place for people to live, and for the average person, even more so. So I think that we need to also consider addressing those problems simultaneously.
Right, exactly. But what if it isn't about the cost? What is about the lack of access? So let's say it's a car. Let's use the example. And let's say it happens that this is the way that this thing occurs because A, it's expensive, too expensive to have it properly removed.
Consumer protection laws.
Right. Now,
lack thereof.
Yeah, people might say that's not the case, but let's say that was one potential impediment.
Right.
Or B, well, where do you take a car for it to be properly dismantled and disposed of? Because you want now to take off the alternator, because that's still good. Maybe, you know what, the wheels, the rims are good, the brake caliper is okay. Maybe you just need, a couple of other things on the interior, whatever it is that you need, for whatever reason. But a bigger picture is, if these things on this car is still of value, why is the car being discarded? No, not a car guy.
So are you suggesting that perhaps one solution might be, just by way of example, that some of the dealerships that say have the right to distribute certain types of vehicles, Toyota, Ford, what have you, that they actually could become involved in stripping the still good parts, and then providing the rest of the carcass of the car to the relevant department of government, because government does have in its budget and has had for a long time this vehicle disposure expense allocation.
Okay. I'm mindful that this is a continued conversation, right?
Yes.
Your point, I think, is very helpful. Could those dealers, now I'm told, not sure that this is the case, I'm told that if you, either a garage or the private individual, and you change the oil in your vehicle, that you're supposed to be able to take it to certain places, and from there, it'll be properly taken to where it's supposed to go.
Right.
I'm also told that doesn't happen in practice. When you take it to those places, they say, "Wait, we just move for? I don't want it." All right? So what do some people do? Well, hopefully it's not that they dump it in somebody's yard or in their backyards. But suffice it to say that it probably happens, right? But what if the vehicle is taken to an X place? X place does this thing. Now, could we look at this idea of recycling, reducing, and reusing? What if it's the landfill somewhere? And for a period of time, then you come and you do it. Now, there's so much waste in this society, from the table where the food scraps and the related expenses to food waste, to the vehicles and the potential usable parts that may be there, to the water that we are constantly running that we don't need to at time, not just in the shower, right? All those things. Is it that the ethos in our society isn't one of being conscientious, considerate? Is it, as our parents and their parents had, a respect for the resource? Not out of necessity because they didn't have, but because they understood that you made provision for tomorrow and you put aside for a rainy day. Now, some would say, well, gee, the government has billions of dollars, but they're in debt, they have no money. You might say, look at that fella living high in the hog and putting the hat high and you can reach it. So from the individual to the collective, from the government to the private sector, is it that we no longer have that value system? The gentleman shared, driving along, cleaning the car. But cleaning the car means that I'm going to be literally littering the driveway, the roadway.
We don't have that value system anymore.
That's it. Mr. Schmid, I appreciate your company, sir. I would invite you to share as you wish. When, at some point, I'm going to look further into it, I did get a couple of calls in the last few days. A wonderful call, unfortunately, not a wonderful topic, but such a professional, amenable, civil, impassioned plea from our listeners. Sadly, it is something that is often, too often rears its head. People in residential areas having to encounter industrial sort of, activities, commercial activities that are offensive. So a garage next to homes, and not just the banging and the hammering, the painting, the spraying, and the constant coming and goings. Now, some would say, well, wait a minute, is planning, is it DOE, is it whoever it is getting involved? And, one was brought to my attention just recently again, and I thought, how do we address these things? Because it's not just an individual doing a little bit of work for him or herself. It's a commercial enterprise that potentially could be, public nuisance? All right. Well, those are things we're going to talk about going forward. I hope people would be inclined to share publicly.
Is Oprah still coming on tomorrow?
Oprah?
Yeah.
Tomorrow is Ray Banker. Tomorrow's the 21st, right?
Yes.
Oh, man. And Ray, congratulations to you and others, the awardees, publicly again. They get the CNCF awards this evening at the wonderful function.
It's not fair, though.
You're not fair?
No, because, all us West Bay should have got the same award.
We spared them, man. We got from West Bay to East End and all in between. From the, and let me leave that be before someone to say, boy, look at that. He was trying to be funny. He made it on offense. But no, congrats to Ray and the others. And it's amazing, you know, what we have. So tomorrow he'll be here. He'll probably be tired because he's gonna work hard again tonight. That fella works hard. Honestly, I'm impressed with Ray's work ethic. He's an amazing guy, man. Really, really is truly amazing. Miss Susan, thank you very, very much. The more I talk, the less you have to do. But the more I talk, the more you have to do. So be it. Can you play us a song? Billy Joel, play us a song. Miss Susan, play us a song today. I want to hear it. No, that's good.
You were thinking about another one earlier?
Yeah, I know, but we can't play that publicly. Can we play that?
Which one?
Yeah.
The beach?
It doesn't fit well with...
Good Barbadian song, man.
Yeah. Why, my Bayesian friends here, why, you know, anyway. But thank you all very much. And I ask you to continue to contribute positively and civilly to the public discourse as we seek consensus. Let's find a way to unify and look forward, you know, for 50 years down the road where, you know, we are one people coming together for a healthy, safe, secure
we'll be
society.
Dead, but
no, bro, no, I can know about you, but hey, check me 50 years time. You want to see a handsome fella? You check my daddy. I look almost as good. So there we go. Until tomorrow, be blessed.
Talk Today airs Monday through Friday from 12:15 until 2:30 p.m., bringing you insight into community events and issues, government initiatives, and the latest in business news within our islands. Brought to you each Tuesday and Thursday by Fidelity Bank. We're good for you. Visit fidelitygroup.com or call 949-7822.
Shaken yet standing firm. This is Radio Cayman in the Cayman Islands.